What's up, Know Your Books family? We're back again with another off-topic episode number 3, and this time we're going to be talking about what benefits reading have and what reading did for me more specifically. And I will also give the top 3 recommendations for people who are starting out. We also did a previous video about habit formation of reading, and if you're starting out, these 3 books with the previous video, you will be able to create a habit out of reading. So make sure to check out that video as well. Literally, you guys have been pushing me to give you a starting lineup when you're starting out reading to level up. And I'm definitely gonna give you guys that. Top 3 recommendations for people who are starting out. Make sure to subscribe. If you're an avid Instagrammer, make sure to follow us at Know Your Book. So what reading did for me can actually be explained from an infinite amount of angles. But just to make a long story short, I started out reading about at least as an avid reader, I started reading about 2 to 3 years. And there were some key changes that I noticed when I started reading more avidly. But just to give you a little bit of a backstory, is that before I even started out reading, I was always interested in different types of philosophies, religions, the meanings of life. So that was really a topic that I enjoyed going into and very deeply study and research that. So like I said, I would study different religions, philosophies, and literally what I found out is that obviously there are some common grounds for each of these philosophies and religions, is that they really emphasize how important the internal is. And I think that that is also linked with the gaining knowledge of other subjects, especially the self-help area and self-improvement area can really make you understand yourself a lot better. Internals emphasized in a lot of philosophies, and this curiosity of mine extended into other areas, more specifically into business, into self-help, and into other areas of life such as productivity, and just getting a whole grasp of the bigger picture and of myself. So I really want to get into more detail about this part of my life, how I transitioned from being very curious and wanting to know more about different types of philosophies and religions and meanings of life or the purpose of life, to actually going into another area of my life, which is the self-help area, the business area, and all these other interesting topics that we are mostly discussing on Know Your Books. It will be a story for another video, but for this video we're going to go into some of the key changes that I noticed in myself, and I think a lot of people will notice as well when they start reading more avidly. So number 1 that I really think is the most important change that I noticed in myself is that my mindset changed, especially in regards to failure. And I think some key books that really helped me get into this type of mindset are books such as Outwitting the Devil, such as Tools of Titans, 4-Hour Workweek. But these type of books really changed my mindset about failure and what failure really means, right? And I think that failure as a concept can be a great motivator for people out there, because I believe failure is temporary defeat, as Napoleon Hill said. With this mindset change also came the concept of that adversity and struggle is as important as happiness, comfort, and freedom. They're much as essential part of life as the other parts are. Without evil, there can be no good, because how would you identify good if there was no evil? And this is the type of mindset change that I believe can be essential. But also you will notice this change really slowly as a process when you're reading more books, because you're going to be more open to new ideas and ideas that are completely contradictory to your own. And you will actually start to question the fabric of your own reality as well. So number 2 that I would say it was a major benefit for me was that I became more social, and I started fostering the relationships that I had and being grateful for the relationships that I had, because when I was younger, I was never really a social person. So I had to learn it the hard way through trial and error. But eventually, when I started reading and getting some key principles in, I started noticing some significant changes also in my own relationships. And of course, sometimes it's still a struggle to make sure that you can stick to these key principles, because they require so much self-control and self-discipline. But this is the type of process that I'm always advocating on Know Your Books, is that it's always hard, or it's difficult to change overnight. That's not going to happen. It's going to be a process. It's going to be a time that you will fail, and you will feel like man, I read this book, but there are no benefits for me. But it actually takes a longer period of time to develop these habits, these key habits, these habits that will significantly change your life over time. Gaining knowledge is different than implementing, and like I say, there are no shortcuts to knowledge and implementation. And implementation takes time, and it's a process, it's a feedback loop. So start reading books about communication, about certain principles. These are going to be key to implement in your life, and eventually it will become a process. Eventually it will become a feedback loop, and then it will become a habit. Number three, which I noticed as well for myself, is that I learned how to fail faster. And failing faster is not bad. Actually, it's a lot better to fail fast and then immediately autocorrect and start succeeding. And I feel like I've started failing faster, smarter, correct my mistakes more effectively. Once I start reading about other people's stories and the mistakes they go through, I start identifying some of the common themes in some of these stories also in my own life. And then it's easier for me to walk over or jump over these major pitfalls that a lot of us get and still are getting when we're on our own path or journey. And also part of this is that I started absorbing and implementing information faster. And this also translated for me starting up Know Your Books. Number four, which is also important for me, is that I started noticing that I started achieving my short-term goals faster. Because a lot of the principles that are in books such as Tools of Titans and Tribe of Mentors and other books that propagate productivity tips or setting your goals more effectively, like Smarter, Faster, Better by Charles Duhigg, these books can actually give you some, I wouldn't call them hacks because I don't like the word hacks. These books give you tips on how to avoid some of the early mistakes that you're going to make in your journey, no matter what that journey is. Because there are people that come from so many different walks of life from these books that these tips can help you avoid some of these mistakes. I think the major part of this is that you can actually set your goals more effectively and having that definitiveness of purpose. Number five would be, I was always a very stubborn person. At least that's what I was told by the people around me when I was younger. But I truly believe that over the years, I realized that I don't know everything. And that I have a lot to learn, and literally my knowledge on this world is probably 0.00001%, and that would probably be an overstatement. And I think that particular concept, that you understand that you don't know everything, can actually motivate you to start gaining more knowledge, and making sure that that tiny little bit of knowledge that you have is implemented in the correct way, and also is used to help other people achieve what they could not achieve. And I think this particular concept of knowing that you don't know everything, or the concept of that everybody is ignorant in some particular aspect of life, is a great motivator for you to continue to gain knowledge and to continue to become better. Because like everybody always says, nobody is perfect and you can always improve a little bit more. So that journey and that process is ongoing and infinite, even if you're in your older years. I really think that part of the process is the fun part, knowing that you will actually never be able to get that ultimate knowledge or that treasure box of I know everything that I need to know. And I think that's the fun part of the process. So those were the 5 benefits or key changes that I noticed when I started reading. Obviously there are a lot more, but I think these key changes can really these key changes can really start building and expanding towards other habits of your life that are way more specific, because what I mentioned actually were quite broad. Now I want to get into some of the books that have literally changed my life, that have brought me key principles that I still carry with me to this day whenever I'm working on anything. They're also really easily digestible for people who are starting out. I'm not super advanced or anything, but I really know how it feels when you're just starting out. You can't make reading a habit and you feel like there are some barriers to entry, like language or focus, concentration, these type of things. So I've made a video about how to make reading a habit, and I think this can help anybody who's starting out, right? But the key thing is that also you need some books when it comes to that, when you're creating that habit. So I'm going to give you a top 3 for people that are starting out. Make sure that after this video, you check out our previous video, which is how to make reading a habit. The number 1 book that I would recommend for people starting out is How to Win Friends and Influence People, as you can see here, by Dale Carnegie. And I think this book is key for everyone who wants to learn more about how to communicate more effectively and how to have a nice conversation with people while learning about them and really showing genuine interest, because I think this book also will give you a mindset change on what is important in communication. So I think this is a great book for people who want to get better at socializing, networking, and, you know, like the title says, how to win friends. So I think that this book is a key read for anyone who's starting out because it's easily digestible and the principles are simple and clear, and getting those benefits from them if you start implementing them immediately. So the number 2 book that I would recommend reading, because this is a book that I think everybody should read next to How to Win Friends and Influence People, and that is Think and Grow Rich. So, and this book definitely changed my mindset about goal setting, about what it is to actually fail, what failure is. And I think that, you know, the key principles, the laws of success in this book will change your whole mindset and perspective on how to actually focus and hone in on that achievement that you want, right? And I think that Think and Grow Rich is a must read for anyone, and it's also easily digestible because it was made for the normal reader. This book also motivated me to continue on my journey with that definitiveness of purpose, with that with the mindset that you need to learn more skills, with the mindset that failure is temporary defeat. And I think that this is a must read. Also, on another note, we're going to be reviewing Think and Grow Rich this Friday, so make sure to stay tuned on our Instagram page to get like updates on how it's going. But Friday we're going to be dropping the book review of Think and Grow Rich, so stay tuned on that as well. Right, number 3 that I want to recommend for people who are starting out is Smarter, Faster, Better by Charles Duhigg. And I think this book is key because it's going to show you what motivation is and how to stay motivated, but also how to set your goals. And it has so many different topics that it actually goes into, that it's that it can be attributed to a very wide audience. And I think things such as goal setting, how to manage innovation, how to control your motivation, but also things such as data absorption are very, very nicely put in this book, and it's clear for people who are just starting out with reading. And I think also when you start implementing the concepts in this book, that it will change some of the things that you're doing right now, as it did mine, especially when it comes to setting your goals. Because I think Smarter, Faster, Better, probably for me, has some of the most clear and concise explanation on how to set your goals and how to effectively start going after them, because you're going to be putting action steps for yourself when it comes to these goals. It's a really clear book, it's simple, and it has so many broad topics that probably you can get something out of it no matter what you do. All 3 of these books that I mentioned really helped me on my journey, on what I'm doing right now. It keeps me focused. I still go back to them a lot of times. So these 3 books are a great start for anybody who's on their journey, no matter if you have a job or are an entrepreneur or just starting out, curious about expanding your mind and becoming better every single day. These 3 books will push you in the right direction. If you want to buy any of these 3 books, okay, I'm going to put the link in the description for you to order it. Also, you will be supporting us if you purchase them through these links, so it's a win-win situation. And I'll put a link for the previous video that I made, the previous off-topic episode 2, which is how to start reading every single day. I'm going to put the link in the description, but I'll also put it at the end of the video so you can go to that immediately and you can start making reading a habit. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do. If you're an avid Instagrammer, make sure to follow us at Know Your Books. And I just want to thank you guys for watching. And if you're here, then you should probably know your books.